click that. All right, so I'm gonna screen share again, and Lee is gonna start us off with a very nice poem.
So Jenna, hi, I'm Lee, and Jenna and I were talking about what's important in our conversations, and we really want to honor Mother Earth, so we thought it would be good to start out with a poem. So you can see it on there, and if you want to say it with me, that would be great, or you could just read it. I am the earth. I am your home, but you destroy my skin and bone. But I forgive and I forget and let you live, but I regret. Do you realize I am your only hope? So don't stand around and mope. I need saving, it's up to you. That is what I need you to do. No more plastic, no more waste, because I am fading at a fast pace. I need love and I need care, because you are polluting my air.
Thank you, Lee. That was great. So before we get into too much discussion, we kind of have a big group, but I was hoping we could quickly go around and introduce everyone, maybe just your name, what city you are in, and one thing you are grateful for today. So I'm going to invite my co-host, Carrie, to go ahead and start it off. Did you hear that, Carrie?
I heard the end part, what I'm grateful for. What was the first part?
So just name, city, and one thing you're grateful for, and I'll throw it in the chat box right now.
My name is Carrie Hall, and I'm the community organizer for NASCA in Prescott, Arizona. And today I'm grateful that I have Jenna as my partner at work.
Wonderful. Do you want to go ahead, Lee?
I'm Lee. I just moved here from New York in August, and I'm grateful to be in a small town that has beautiful nature that I can walk out into, and that people here are really concerned and activists about taking care of the environment and each other. So thank you.
Wonderful. You want to go ahead, Chris, and maybe tell us about what you've been up to real quickly as well for everyone who doesn't know what you're doing?
Sure. My name is Chris Kalinich. I'm based out of Sedona, Arizona, but I lived in Flagstaff for 20 plus years. That's where I raised my family with my husband. And we both grew up in Prescott. So I kind of have connections all over Northern Arizona. And I am a culinary instructor and nutrition educator, and I've been doing some Earth Month special free virtual cooking demos with my final one coming up this Sunday at 2 o'clock. And I'm teaching just people about, you know, a little bit about the whole movement to maybe consider eating more plants and be healthier because of that, and how to help Mother Earth by eating more plants and being conscious of food waste, and just trying to put a few little nuggets of information about how to take care of our planet during the cooking demos.
Jenna, can I say something really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
Now that she said that. So I'm a dietitian and herbalist, and I work closely with people that want to know more about plant-based food, and also how herbs can help them stay healthy. So once you said that, and I go to Sedona every Sunday. So Chris, once you said that, I wanted to also comment.
Oh, wonderful. I'd love to connect with you, Lee. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Jenna has my email, and I'll be there on Sunday, so I don't know if you're going to be around.
Well, I'm giving my virtual cooking demo in my kitchen at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So I am around. I'm in my kitchen, my plant to platter kitchen.
Great.
All right. I will definitely connect you two. And I also, at the end of the meeting, want to provide a link to register for Chris's classes for anyone who's interested. I think, is this Sunday the sauce one? Because I was pretty interested in that one myself.
It is. It's focusing. It's called the Simply Scrumptious Sauce. I'm going to be demonstrating 2 recipes. It's just a real quick bite-sized class. So it's like a 45-minute class, 30 minutes mainly information doing the demo, and it's a free class. I'm doing it for free for everybody. And then a kind of a 15-minute Q&A, and it's a webinar style format on Zoom. So it's very easy with the link. Just register and you'll be in there. I can take up to 100 people. I'm about halfway full right now. So
Great. Well, thank you both. All right, I'm just kind of going in order of my screen, so I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot, but Shar, you're next on my screen view.
Hi. Okay, I'm Shar Hoffman. I moved here about a year ago. I'm at Sacred Heart Catholic Church. We have and I'm grateful because we have a nice, active, although not quite so active right now, Care for the Earth ministry that just began there. And it's wonderful to be involved with so many people who care for the earth. And I'm also involved with Patrick Grady's new interfaith, geez, seems like you changed the name on me. I called it ICAT, Interfaith Climate Action Team. Okay. Yeah, so it's nice to have the faith communities come together for this purpose. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Shar. All right, Stuart, you're up next on my view.
Stuart Shupak, I'm in Cottonwood, and I'm grateful for Dead Horse Ranch State Park, where I was hiking earlier today.
Wonderful. All right, Peggy, are you too busy peeling, or do you have a sec to say hi? You're muted. You're muted, Peggy.
I don't think I'm muted now. Am I? Am I
No.
muted now? Yes or no? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, I've been having some Zoom meetings with various groups, and I'm real excited about the great change in people's attitudes now that we've had this total wake-up call with the virus and have been able to spend more time thinking in some ways that of what's much more meaningful in our lives. So I'm being hopeful, but I think we need to empower our hope, and I'm seeing that happening. I want to direct you to the Sustainability Alliance website, where they're having right now postings through Gardens for Humanity and Healthy Sedona on food, gardens in small spaces, container gardens, and giving practical advice for people, solutions that they can do themselves right now in the beginning of the growing season. That's
Wonderful. Thanks, Peggy. And then the next name, I have the name says John? Is that John Trukowski? Okay.
I cannot get that off of there. That's my late husband's name. And I've tried putting my own name in. I haven't figured it out or why they don't want it. Every time I do that, it still pops up his name. So I'm Karen. Okay. And I don't know how to undo that. Okay, I live in the village of Oak Creek. And this thing was on farming and in the environment. Is that what the whole thing is? And I'm really into regenerative agriculture. I have gone to, I've actually went to a convention and I actually went around to farms. I have given 2 courses in Ollie, one a workshop and one a course on regenerative agriculture. And I've also invested. There's lots of investment in regenerative agriculture and how this is going to help save our environment. If we don't deal with agriculture, you know, we're kind of doomed. So
Wonderful. Wow. Well, glad to have you. Thank you. All right, Francis.
Hi, I'm Frank. Now I'm unmuted, right? Yeah, Frankie, Sedona. I've been active with NASCA since the beginning. I'm on the board of NASCA. I'm particularly interested in gender and where I've been speaking on gender and climate change. So part of what I'm speaking on is gender and agriculture. So there's some interest there.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. Patrick?
Hi, I'm Patrick Grady. I live in Prescott. Let's see, I'm grateful for Zoom. This is my third Zoom meeting of the day, and the connectivity that it provides for is amazing in this period of isolation. I'm with the Yavapai Climate Change Coalition. I'm a recently elected board member of NASCA, and I've been involved in food justice with Arizona Interfaith Power and Light for about 4 or 5 years now. And I heard about this through NASCA and wanted to see what folks were thinking about concrete actions around food justice and, as several suggested, impacts on the environment and health, of course.
Wonderful. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
Can I add one thing? I forgot to say what I'm thankful for. Patrick, you just reminded me since you started with that. Well done. So I'm really thankful for my community. I was on the road for a month, and it's really lovely to come back to Sedona, which is very warm, and people have really come together. So that is just wonderful. Excuse me.
No, thank you, Frankie. Crystal, are you with us? I just saw you pop in. Are you on the phone or the computer? Okay, we'll skip Crystal for a minute. I know she talked to me about. Oh, are you there?
This is Landon.
Hi, Landon. Go ahead. We're just giving some quick introductions, just our name, what city we live in, and something we are grateful for today.
Yeah, my name's Landon. I live in Paulden, which is north of Prescott, and I'm grateful for seeds and sunshine.
Wonderful. Thank you. Lori, how are you doing?
Unmuted now. My name's Lori. I'm in Sedona, and I'm grateful for this virtual background because I just came in from my garden and I have twigs and dirt all over me. So
that's amazing. Thank you. All right. Hi, Summer. How are you?
I'm good. Hello, I'm Summer Dunn. I live in Prescott. I help manage a school garden at Lincoln Elementary School, and I love it. I'm thankful for spring and being able to get outside, and I'm really thankful for the support network that is becoming more robust here in Prescott with those school gardens. People like Molly Beverly and Susie Delgado and Landon even. And yeah, I'm excited to branch out and get a little more sustainable and try to work that into our school gardens at Prescott Unified School District.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us. All right. Hi, Anna. Are you there? How are you? Nope. Oh, Carrie's saying maybe not. Oh.
I'm here. I'm eating dinner. I'm in Brooklyn, New York. I'm Carrie's daughter, and I just thought I'd join in. I'm also grateful for Zoom, Patrick, so that I can stay connected with everyone while I'm all alone here in New York.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you're doing good over there, and thanks for joining us, and enjoy your dinner. All right. Jim, are you there?
Hi there, everyone. I'm Jim Gale, and I'm in Sedona, and I'm grateful for all of this great expression of energy and the social contact and feeling close to brand new people, as well as I'm grateful for my seeds sprouted. And I saw them grow about 1/4 inch yesterday and about 3/4 inch today. So it's very exciting.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jim. Are you there, Ramon? All right, maybe we'll try Fran. Are you there?
Hi, I'm Fran, and I've actually been really interested to meet you and talk to you. I'm a food corps member here in Flagstaff, Arizona, so I run the Kinsey Community Garden, and I also own half of Praxis Waste Solutions, so that's how I'm known, I guess. And one thing I'm grateful for is the pandemic, because of all this amazing talk around climate change and food justice and all the good stuff that we should have been talking about, but didn't have the push we needed.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, and I'd love to talk to you more. All right, let's see, did I have Nancy, are you there?
I am. Thank
you. Where do you live, Nancy?
Sedona.
Wonderful. We were just, I don't know if you came on late, quick introduction.
I did.
Okay. Yeah. We were going around just name and location, and if you want to, one thing you are grateful for today, optional.
Beautiful sunshine and blue skies.
All right, perfect. And then if anyone else, there's a few that I don't have a name on. If you want to introduce yourself, or if not, we will start talking about nutrition, climate, and health.
Let's go.
All right.
Hi, this is Kathy. I'm here lurking as OsteoStrong Sedona because this is my work computer. I just thought I better out myself or Carrie would out me. And I'm grateful. I'm in Cottonwood, and I'm grateful that it's springtime because we've been getting out and walking every afternoon so that we don't go stir crazy and kill ourselves in the house.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining. So I know the agenda was just up there for only a second, but I kind of had some questions that I put out there. And the first one's somewhat basic, and it was just, how is climate change affecting food production and availability? So we can briefly talk about that, or if you guys want to kind of just jump right into what impacts this is going to have on our human health and who are going to be affected by that. My goal was, there's so many of you on here, which is amazing. I want this to be as interactive as possible, but I understand that can be kind of difficult with so many people. So us at NASCA are kind of learning to use Zoom and how to make this work for our meetings with so many great volunteers. So I apologize if this isn't perfectly structured, but I just wanted to bring us all together because the thing I'm grateful for is that we're still connecting with one another, and I think that is so important. So we're just gonna work through this and try not to interrupt each other, and I just wanna hear your guys' thoughts and kind of have a wonderful discussion on these topics. So I know we have some experts in here. Anyone is more than welcome to start us off, just kind of even what their thoughts on what climate change is going to do to our food supply and to the health, and who's going to be affected most by that.
Can I start?
Of course, thank you. So I was hoping someone would say something.
Yeah, I think we need to think about it in the reverse, that we have to, rather than what climate change is doing to the food, we have to figure out how we can do our food supply to help climate change. And the soil, and sequestering carbon in the soil using regenerative agriculture is going to be one of our main things. And I've noticed with the coronavirus thing, we have a big problem with the supply chain. And one of the things, if we're going to be doing regenerative agriculture, we need to localize our food rather than having it shipped from here to there. And, you know, we have to stop, all the inputs, the toxic inputs, which is destroying our soil. And we cannot have them. We have to stop. There's like 5 things. crop rotation, cover crops, stop plowing. Every time you plow, you put carbon up into the air. And we really have to sequester that carbon. And there's like 5 things. We need animals back on the land. We cannot keep doing the corn and soybean thing, and which is ridiculous. So if we start there, I think that would be a really good start here in the United States.
Thank you very much.
And it's rule.
Anyone else want? Oh, go ahead.
I am sure, Landon, you have something to say about this
I
topic.
was going to say the same thing.
Yeah,
Turn his mic
so I
on.
definitely agree. So my background's in permaculture, so I'm totally like on your level with all of those points you made. What I think right now, though, with the social situation is that when we see the supply lines and the centralized agriculture actually failing, that's the opportunity to create the economic incentive to localize our food system. And then when the food system is localized, then we can enact those regenerative practices. Up until this point, modern agriculture has kind of looked invincible. People are just like, when I try and tell them like, yeah, our food system is super fragile, they're like, no, it's not. I can buy anything at the grocery store any day of the week. How is that fragile? But now we're seeing like, oh, grocery stores are not getting food. There's a New York Times article. We're dumping and destroying millions of pounds of food right now because restaurants and schools are closed and they can't transition that food to go to grocery stores. So,
right.
Yeah. So it's an amazing opportunity to deliver kind of the simple message of localizing our food system is what's secure. And then once people are more on board with that and they're eating from farmers markets more and they're learning about what farms are doing around them, then they really start to care even more about like soil saving practices, because it's not just some airy fairy like, oh yeah, there's carbon in the air and it needs to go in the ground. Like, I'm totally down with the science, but most people just fall asleep. So when you're eating from your local farm and you're like, oh, if they did this, they would keep their soil, you kind of intuitively understand the importance of that, because if the soil in your area goes away and you can't grow food in your area and you're dependent on local food, then you're like, oh yeah, that's really important. Like, it's just, it makes sense without further explanation. So I mean, I could ramble on and on forever, but I just wanted to, at this point, make that one point that we have the unique social opportunity.
Exactly.
So is there like a cooperative of farmers markets, or how does that work? I mean, it's a great idea and it's good for us to talk about it here, but how does that actually come be realized? Is there an organized effort for that? Or because wouldn't that be awesome if it was already organized and we could just like turn it on?
Yeah, so I don't know what you mean by exactly what would be organized. There's lots of local food and it's definitely expanding. Our farmers market in Prescott is selling out every week, which is pretty much unheard of. So all the farmers are doing way better economically. The thing about organizing local food advocacy is that it's inherently decentralized. It's specific to an area. Like, it's hard to advocate for local food in Flagstaff, even if I live in Prescott, let alone like a nationwide localization effort. It's like global decentralization it's such an intricate and complex emergent system, to use jargon from systems-based thinking. The end product is emergent, so which means that everyone works and does their part on the local level, and then what it looks like on the bigger level just spontaneously appears. Another example of an emergent system is all of the cells in your body just work and do their own independent job, and spontaneously you become your own individualized being that's the multi-celled organism. The cells aren't specifically organized to make you be your own living being. They're just living on their level of consciousness and biology, and then we spontaneously exist as a system. So a decentralized food system is the same thing. It looks different in every bioregion because, like, in the far north, you would probably have a lot more animals grazing a larger amount of land. In the drylands, you're gonna have different population densities and different farming methods and different food crops and different times that the food crops are available. And so there's no just cookie cutter, this is how you localize food.
Right. I think what I meant by organized is more like coordinated. So if there were farmers markets in the Cottonwood area or Sedona and Flagstaff, and all the local food production was coordinated in that way, and then was deployed to help bring some food to other areas that don't maybe have the agriculture to actually grow their own food within Arizona. I mean, that I'm just going down a rabbit hole. I'm just saying that would be, I love the idea of localized, agriculture and food. I'm just wondering if now is a time for us to take advantage of that. How would we do that? But I was curious.
Well, my thought is it doesn't have to be that localized. I mean, like regions, why are we growing lettuce or whatever and shipping it to New Jersey? We could, be doing it in a region kind of thing. And we have to shrink our grocery stores. We don't need all that crap that's in grocery stores, and try to eat more natural.
I see, yeah, and like bananas from Peru, and when there's a big footprint on. So what you're saying is, not just tiny local, but even just, having
more region. Yeah.
Yeah.
This past year I went to Cuba, and they grow about 90% of the food there. Of course, they've got a good climate all year round. But they were forced into doing this, and they do everything organically, and they do everything regeneratively, because they were forced into it after the Soviet Union fell and they stopped growing sugarcane. And it was rather interesting, just going through the, how they do it. And I think they have probably the same climate as Florida, because they're only 90 miles away. And, we could be growing bananas, we can be growing mangoes, in Florida. Obviously that could be our region, those things might have to be shipped, but other things, such as animals, they could be anywhere in the United States, grazing on, turning the cornfields back into prairies like they used to be, and grasslands, and that sequesters carbon, because it's a perennial, and the roots get very long, and if they have a variety of grasses and things like the old prairies had, we could be doing stuff like that. And
wonderful.
We could be sequestering carbon. And one of the things I learned with all this thing is every time you plow, you're also putting up nitric oxide, I think it is, and that's a very bad greenhouse gas.
Yeah, nitrates.
Is that what it is? Yeah. And
yeah, it's nitrates.
You're right, and that's, anyway. Okay. So
I have some carbon cycle and nitrogen cycle charts somewhere that I could dig up at the end or something, because they really illustrate it really well for those of us who are not as well versed in the science. I definitely, back to what Carrie was asking about with the organizing, I see a huge vacancy specifically in our bioregion, in food co-ops. Our grocery stores are not really localized at all. And the producers are definitely like, they're already there or nearly there for a lot of them, like able to consistently supply food at like a grocery store level, like a small grocery store level. And a food co-op would naturally, if it's in its mission statement, localize where it gets food. Like we could get grain from Hayden Mills down in Phoenix. We can get greens year round. We could get tomatoes year round from Phoenix area, and really localize to a state, and then even to like avocados in California. Like it doesn't have to be political boundaries, but we can, those sorts of grocery store situations can really help shift things, and people feel a lot of support for their food co-ops where they do exist. And another thing on the organizing level that's a little more like global, national, international, but still matters for like voting and political things, is that right now food is heavily subsidized. Centralized agriculture is heavily subsidized. And if there were no subsidies on food, then local food would be way cheaper than centralized food, because of all the transport costs.
yeah, what's interesting is.
Can I jump in?
Oh,
Can I jump in? So this is Frances, sorry. So it strikes me that I really appreciate, Landon, what you're saying, and that this is sort of an opportunity to shock doctrine in the right way, right? Take advantage of resources. But it strikes me that we know these things. There's a budding farm to table movement, right? I mean, in the 60s, there were food co-ops, but it seems that what you said at the very end is the crux, that we have industrialized farming in this country that is big business, that is supported at the government level, and that this is very much, NASCA is a bipartisan, nonpartisan group, but this is very much a political issue. I would say that that politicians are getting paid to keep our food supply in the way that it is, and we've imposed this on the world for at least, I mean, the word banana republic comes from this notion, right? So it is I think it's great to go down the science hole. I feel like we know how to plant things. Like we know how to be, our grandparents did this. But this is not a politically free conversation. The way it is very useful
a
for lots of
socioeconomic situation more than a physical, biological issue. There's been sustainable and regenerative food practices have been the norm for thousands of years within indigenous cultures, at least. So we know how to do it, and telling people that we know how to do it doesn't seem to change it. Which brings me back to my first point, that we have like the unique social opportunity. And I'm going to come out and just kind of like say the sides a little bit on it. Like there's kind of a right-wing like resistance to it, and I totally understand where that comes from. But in my perception, like that's kind of the side that has, without including like the elite government, like people that want to not have equality, like for your average voter, talking about like the environment and climate change is not going to appeal to anyone that's kind of in a right-wing stance. But if you talk to them about like food resiliency and like their neighbors, that's really what appeals more, I think. So with this virus and seeing like grocery stores shutting down, that's really like where I see the opportunity, like, hey, local food like makes this not happen. Like you care about the government not coming in, like taking your rights, like you don't have a leg to stand on if you don't have food.
Right.
And like that's a message that can be heard more.
Go for it, Peggy. You're muted, Peggy.
Okay. There's a lot here. I think, you know, the government has been demonized, and now we've found out that government is actually really important and can play a really good role for us if we can extract greed from it. And I think the greed comes through investors in Wall Street, just as like with our health system. It's run by that type of mentality of making money, not through labor, but through moving money around and shifting whatever they're doing in the stock market. But I do think that we should, really being a child of the 60s and having lived on a commune and having been in Flag with the Flagstaff Greenhouse and Cooperative Garden movement in the 80s and that. But I think a lot of this can come down to voting with your shopping cart. You can reduce what you're purchasing in the mega market, large industrial complex realm of the supermarket by taking the leap and learning how to grow stuff yourself, microgreens and all kinds of things you can grow, sprouts, all those kinds of things where you can supplement yourself and help your neighbors join a community supported agriculture, CSAs, share in somebody who has more space to garden. Those kind of community efforts of sharing and doing more of the circular economy helps you reduce what you're buying into when you go to a store and you use your shopping cart. So if we can get people to do the grassroots movement in learning certain sustainability skills for themselves and be more sharing with our resources, tool closets and sharing food actually, we can really help what is going to be large masses of people who are going to be having to migrate because of climate migration needs. We're going to have such large populations. So we, who are the fortunate ones, need to re-gear ourselves so that we can create abundance to share. That's what I think. And I think we need to wrest away the clutch of Wall Street on our agricultural system and our government and get rid of the shackles that they've put on everyone and free us up. That's what I think. So shopping with your, voting with your shopping cart, but also voting. Go to the Sierra Club and look at their report card for the people who are running for office and pressure people to vote for a healthier planet.
So I invited a kind of a large or a few people that are from the food and animal agriculture team here in Prescott to join this. And what just came to my mind that would be, because I always want to think about like what action can we take away from the conversation that we're having. And what would be really cool is to get a connection with your local, each area, get connected with farmers markets and have them do a presentation, teach us how to help promote like NASCA, right? And then our foodie teams that we have, I can get one started in Cottonwood, and like I think that's a really good idea to utilize this moment. And these teams are brand new, and we're still, the one in Prescott, we're still trying to figure out like where to get started. And so this is kind of exciting, just shining a light on the farmers markets and the boxes that you can pick up, and it's amazing. And it's just like I didn't know about it, and so I had to search for it. And so And our job with NASCA is to get this information out to the masses. So that might be something that Jenna and I can work on to help, get that to the teams and see what we can do with that.
Yeah, great idea, Carrie. Thank you. And yeah, as I kind of said, this is a super informal. This was kind of how we would have a team meeting for the people interested in this in person. And we thought it would be great to kind of connect all the groups. So I definitely would love to plan, even if it has to be virtual, getting some of our local farms to maybe give us a short presentation on what they're growing and stuff like that. So I think that would be wonderful. Go ahead, Francis.
I wonder if anyone's had any luck in getting our area supermarkets. And I want to make a note that I find it interesting that Whole Foods, of course, got bought by Amazon. So, right, talk about the industrial food chain. But
it was
but I mean, had there been any success, sorry, in introducing local products to bigger supermarkets? And has that been a strategy, as well as developing new places to buy food?
Go ahead, Ramon.
I just want to do a share screen on some information that I have. Not sure if anybody's interested, but I thought I'd just do it. See if I can find it now, because we all have to stay at home, I thought this might be interesting. The other lady was talking about the wasted food. So this movie is going to be portrayed next week.
Very nice. Yeah, if you want, you could even maybe copy and paste that link into the chat box, and then we would all be able to access that page you're on too.
Okay. And then, of course, there was another thing that was involved. There was when I was at the Vegan Fest, this book, I haven't had a chance to get it yet, but I'm very interested in trying to find this book. So I'll be looking on Amazon for it. I don't know, you can see that at this time or not?
I'm still seeing the Anthony Bourdain wasted screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have to get over there somehow.
You can.
That's okay. When I get to it, I'll send it off as a screen save.
Can I jump in for a second?
Of course.
While Ramon is looking for his screen. It sounds to me like we could use like a marketing / education campaign. Because we all know all this stuff, and this stuff is great, and this gets me all fired up, but I think a lot of people are pretty ignorant as to how to vote for with their dollar and how to vote with their shopping cart. So, just like Facebook infographics, just stuff that's simple and quick, especially in this time, like Landon is saying, where people are like, wow, this system isn't really working. Like maybe, the people are looking for answers and looking for alternatives. But I mean, giving them big chunks of information is ineffective. So yeah, just like a simple marketing campaign, letting people know about the farmers market, just a little bit information about how, if you shop local, like how much carbon that saves and the impact on the environment and yada, yada, yada.
Well, on May 11th, the Sustainability Alliance is going to do a community dialogue, a few hours, I think it's going to be an hour of a Zoom meeting where people will call in and talk about this very subject, somewhat like this, but it'll be structured. Darcy Hitchcock, who does the Sustainability Alliance, is setting it up to have categories like what we're talking about and try to get practical solutions that are local, that people are using. And then at some point, I think it will move into developing different groups that will be exploring their particular interests. there's a lot going on that website, the Sustainability Alliance website, because it organizes around bringing people together for practical solutions on the local level, and getting, like we have Mackenzie Jones, our sustainability manager for the town, and we have people from Healthy Sedona and NASCA and DOOR, and all the different groups are represented to focus on the goals of working as a community to achieve a cohesive movement towards being a sharing, sustainable environment.
The only catch that, Peggy, that I see with that is that how do we get people who are not already part of it? I mean, everybody that I've heard speak here and everybody at Sustainability Alliance, we're preaching to the choir. We all agree, we understand, we want to promote, but how do we get the unbelievers on our to listen to us in the first place? How do we get them to join these meetings? I mean, I did put this on Facebook, I shared it, I tried to let people know that this was happening today, but how do we get those that are, as I said, the unbelievers, the ones who are the doubters? How do we get them on board?
That's always going to be the question. I think sometimes we think of like the choir is one thing and the non-choir is another thing. But actually, we're all part of the choir of the human race, and we all are singing together, whether we're prospering or whether we're drowning. Right now, we're drowning, and more people will kind of jump on board the raft, the more they can say to themselves, what's in it for me? And there's something actually in it for them. So I think that's the board that we reach out to from our raft of hope, to pull in people to say, there's something in this for you. You can actually get a shovel from somebody who has an extra shovel. You can actually get somebody to come over to your house and fix your toilet without costing you anything, because there would be a time banking kind of community effort where you would do something else and bank your time, and everybody's time would be of the same value. So those kinds of systematic changes, I think, that don't cost people money and give them things where they participate and feel good about participating. You know, the choir, I mean, people have been saying that about the choir forever. But when we have something like this predicament that we're in now, people want to be in the choir. I think people would rather be singing than be despondent. No.
One thing, yeah. One thing, okay, can I talk? I don't know if I...
Yeah. Are you unmuted?
No.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. One of the things, you know, I think, you know, it's nice to do things locally, but it's not going to spread throughout. You know, we've got to get the corn out of Iowa and go back to grassland and do the animals on it and so forth. But where was I going with that? We have to get the right people into Congress. And there are a few. I just have this article that just came to me today. At the national level, Cory Booker and Representative Jeb Hagelin from New Mexico and Representative Shelley Green from Maine, they've introduced bills to adopt climate-friendly practices. And I know Cory Booker, he has a bill in, which is probably not going to go anywhere with our climate right now, but to get the what do we call the feedlots, to eliminate the feedlots, and buying, you know, to technically having farmers, you know, not do that, not giving their things. And one of the things I've discovered with being into this regenerative agriculture and going to these conventions and whatever, farmers are teaching other farmers. It's like a whole thing that nobody knows about. and that we're not quite aware of. But farmers are training other farmers across this country because farmers are losing money. And if those corn things and the soybean things are not subsidized by our government, they would have no, they just could not make any money. And it's going to be a lot of financial things that these farmers are going to start doing the regenerative things with other farmers, teaching other farmers. And anyway, that's, hopefully that's where we're going here. So.
Yeah, thank you. And along the lines with everyone, I think we have an opportunity right now with everything that's going on. And I think we have people's ear more when it comes to especially these topics of food and health. People are kind of willing to learn versus kind of us always throwing climate change science in their face per se. But, I think right now is a great opportunity to start teaching people the skills that we know and passing them on. Peggy always says, I think it's to each one, teach one. And, I think it's on all of us. We can sit here and talk, but we need to talk to our neighbors, socially distanced right now, but start teaching people the skills that we know. And I think once they learn stuff like this, they'll be more willing to hear about things that are happening. I mean, climate change is going to greatly disrupt our food supply across the world. Weather events and the ocean. I mean, people are going to have to learn that food is going to be, in trouble for everyone in the country. And I know this was supposed to be about health too. So if anyone kind of wants to jump in about what's going to happen when climate change continues to get worse, like what's going to happen to our nutrition and things like that, feel free. I know we have a lot of food people on here, which has been great, but anyone that wants to talk about health, please jump in as well.
Jenna, I just wanted to, and in the chat, I posted a couple of resources that are kind of like stealth marketing things for people who, if you have friends and family, hopefully probably everybody here has seen the Biggest Little Farm documentary, which is just a gorgeous way into a personal understanding of small farms. And then I just came across a wonderful book called Good Husbandry, and I can't remember the author's name right now, but her first book was called The Dirty Life, and it's about a small family farm in upstate New York and their trials and tribulations. And I feel like things like that are really subtle, and people develop a heart connection with a small farm, the idea of a small farm, that when we go talking about carbon sequestering, they just go, ugh, it's like, can't deal. But when you make a heart connection with a small farmer, then you start looking around, oh, what can I do? What's a CSA? And is there one in my local community? And so it really is guerrilla marketing. So, like, buy copies of these books and this documentary and hand them out to your friends and family who are kind of poo-pooing you. And that's one way to draw them in subtly.
Yeah, I really want to have a Biggest Little Farm video party. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you have to, yeah. Yeah, we should, if we can show that like at the Cottonwood Library for one of our NAZ-CCA meetings, I think that would be awesome.
So,
yeah.
We had, you do have to buy the license for it, but we actually had an event that was supposed to be next Saturday in Sedona. The library agreed to pay half of the license fee with us. So it came out to $30 each, which was, I thought, a pretty fair price. And so the Sedona library was really excited to work with us. So I'm sure the Cottonwood one would be as well, but obviously we had to postpone it, but it was a super easy license to get, and the library did all the legwork for us. So
I own the Biggest Little Farm, so I mean, you could buy it on Amazon for $16.
Yeah, and to do it at the library, they really wanted us to have the public viewing license. Even though we had our own copy, they wouldn't let us show that at the library. You could get away with it in your own home if someone wanted to like host an event, but yeah.
We could even show it on on Zoom, just with a small little group like this, or a big group. I mean, we're going to do a video webinar next week with Gary Beverly's solutions video. So if that goes well, then we can do some more movie sharing through our Zoom platform. So that would be until we can meet again in person.
One thing I want to is through my research on all this regenerative agriculture, that New Zealand, about 20 years ago, the government of New Zealand stopped all farm subsidies, and it forced the farmers into redoing, things. They weren't getting any subsidies like for corn and whatever, and it forced the farmers to think, how they're growing food and raising their animals and so forth. And it's worked really well. So one of the things we could probably talk to other people saying, vote for people, in the government that, would do that, and tell them why are our tax dollars going for crappy, food and, and so forth. And which is what they're substituting stuff for crappy food, I think. So there you go.
Yeah, and you had mentioned health too, and that seems to be a really big kind of a movement, plant-based, whole food movement right now, which I think is helpful because vegetarian, vegan, climate change, it's all like all those words have stigma that's attached to it. So by eating organic local food is also good for you too. So so that's something that I know our team is really going to try to focus on, and also tying in animal corporate animal agriculture worldwide and the impacts it has on deforestation and the holistic impact of CO2, including methane, into our atmosphere. So
in the United States, 40% of the corn goes to ethanol, which is bizarre right there. And then the rest of it goes to animal feed. Let's take those animals out of those feedlots and stick them on, back. And we've got enough land here in the United States. And if animals aren't roaming around on it, the soil deteriorates. And if the soil deteriorates, you're not sequestering carbon. So,
Jenna, another element, I think, of this discussion, and I like what the Alliance is considering doing in May, is also looking at local food policy. So if you look at Flagstaff's climate adaptation plan, they do have a section that deals with food waste, with composting, with looking at the whole food system. So there's a food policy part that counties in other parts of our state are looking at food policy. It's in that climate action plan. And I think that that's another place to start. But to start in food policy in our local area, I think we need to have a stronger connection, not just to the public market, but to the farmers themselves. So we presume to be speaking on their behalf with our ideas of things that they should be doing. But we need a stronger coalition that includes the interest group that we would like to see expand. The second thing I would say about food policy and the climate adaptation plan, and Flagstaff is silent on this, and I know several of you, more by reputation than personally, but are concerned about development and development impacts. And the fear there is we need to also figure out ways to conserve land for agriculture, so that in our own community, we can see an expansion, so that the 8 or 9 farms that are supplying the public market likely is not enough to support a larger population of needs. So we need to focus on policy that reclaims land for urban agriculture. Some other thoughts to throw into the dialogue.
I really like that idea, because it really is kind of matches and mirrors what we're doing with the city council. I mean, you know, we have ideas of what we want to propose as to how our city government can help transition our community toward renewable energy or solar. But we can do the same thing. We should meet with the local farmers, the farmers market, and find out not only how we can help market them so people will, you know, go to the farmers market, but like Landon and what you're saying is get them into the stores, like real food policy, like let's a real movement. And as much as we'd like to have this be a statewide and national and global effort, I mean, you know, if we can get something done within our little cities, like Flagstaff has done with their climate action and adaptation plan, then that's a model and something to build from, and other communities can use that moving forward. So that's a great idea. I like that.
Yeah, I know that like Whipstone runs into some trouble with supplying like Biga and Chop House with food because of some permits or something. I don't know all the details, but things like that really slow down our ability to get local food into restaurants and into like grocery stores. That's a whole other like, how was this washed? Where was it washed? And I understand the need for food safety, but there's also a lot of bureaucracy and forms and excess in those policies, because it's designed for large agriculture who can hire lawyers and whatever else to send food to every single Whole Foods in the entire country. And then there's still E. coli in the lettuce, but that's an aside.
That's such a good point that you make. Like, I never thought about that before, that, you know, there's a limit of our local foods that's allowed to even be used by our restaurants. Like that's exactly what NASCA is for, is to go
yeah,
in
like
our
the farmers
restaurant.
are safe. Like, I want safe food, but they are safe. They just aren't about paperwork. And so like the vacancy, the disconnect that I see that's the largest in our personal community of the northern Arizona is grocery stores. And I mean, that's exemplified by, like, we had a local grocery store. We had New Frontiers, and it got bought out by Whole Foods, which at the time was 40% owned by Monsanto. I think Frances left, but I wanted to tell her. Yeah, it was bought out by Amazon, but it was mostly Monsanto before that. And then in Prescott, they shut down because we just despised them so much. We were like, you're not our grocery store. We don't like you. Go away. And then they did. But there's still that hole in the community. It's like just this empty space that we revolve around. And like Natural Grocers has some local stuff, and you can get like your local products in there relatively simply, and that's really cool. But it's still just like a corporate grocery store. All the employees are like, yeah, you know, corporate stuff. But what if you could like go to corporate, because corporate was like a board of your community members, and you were like, hey, this really like sucks, or this is really awesome, we want more of this. And then they just make more of that happen and make it happen at prices that are affordable, because it's all the middlemaning and the transportation that makes things expensive. So that's like, if there was a streamline, like a general direction, I would say, how do we get local food into more mediums of sell? Because the farmers market is doing amazing. Yeah, they could use a little promotion, but not even right now. Like, they're literally selling out, at least in Prescott. But when there's not a pandemic, like, you don't always just want to shop on Saturday. And sometimes you want bulk food. Like, bulk food's a big gap there. So yeah.
Go ahead, Peggy. Oh, you're muted.
Okay.
Well,
a couple shout outs. One is for privately owned Mount Hope Foods in Cottonwood, where right now, because of the pandemic, there's you can go to Mount Hope Foods Wholesale and order bulk items, and they'll ship it anywhere on UPS if you order $60 or more. And they have all of the beans and grains and stuff, because they would sell to restaurants, and now the restaurants are not open, so they're not selling to them, and they want to keep all their staff working. So all of those people are working on shipping things to private people, and you can
What's it
just
called?
order.
Grocers?
It's called Mount Hope Foods Wholesale.
Market.
It's in Cottonwood.
Yeah, they're
And
really
it's
cool. I forgot about them.
family owned. The other shout out is to Michael Moore's podcast, Rumble, because last night he had an executive from Cisco Health on, and he was really showing how the health insurance business is not a business of health. It's really the health, or the individuals that are engaged in trying to get health through the insurance, get healthy through their insurance, are just commodities. And in the same way, large ag operates like that through Wall Street, because they are just juggling around the commodities of the food that we rely on. And farmers are just as much victimized as the rest of us by the kind of shell game that they play. So this is going to be really critical for people not to go back to sleep like we have been for several decades, and letting everything coast into kind of a corporate overseeing greediness. So we have to stay awake and hang together and help each other out as much as we can, and share resources and information. So I recommend.
I was trying to get the coconut milk.
I recommend those things to you guys.
Thank you, Peggy. And I just wanted to say that we can wrap it up soon. I know you guys all have probably dinner and things to do, but I just wanted to, before we close, give everyone any last opportunity. If they want to share a closing remark or anything, please do so. So go ahead.
I was just going to say also, Peggy, a shout out about Mount Hope, because they do carry local produce. And I think that kind of shows that the produce, and you know this, Landon, I know you know this, that it's partly an issue of scale. You know, Kroger cannot work with individual farmers. They're just too big. They haven't figured out how to do that. They don't have the systems in place, which I shouldn't say they cannot at this point. They don't have the systems in place to do that. And in terms of actions that could be taken, Carrie, if we're looking at actions, the Yavapai County health people who do the food safety, they have a really, they have a bad reputation for not allowing small farmers to produce and sell to local restaurants. I know somebody who was trying to work with local farmers, and what it came down to was, unless the restaurant owned the farm, this was a few years ago, I'm hoping it's changed since, but unless the restaurant owned the farm, they couldn't use local produce, because the supply chain, they had supply chain concerns and contamination. And that's the kind of thing that the farmers don't have time to like deal with the people at the food safety at the county. And so an organization like NAZCCA or the Sustainability Council could maybe do that background work if the farmers are ready for that kind of demand. So, and maybe that would be something that you could address, Landon. Well, that's what I thought. Yeah. But I mean, you know, is there,
yeah, I mean, they
farmers
already
be
do
ready
sell
for
the
that?
restaurants a lot. And if there's still a legal reason that they can't, then it's happening under the table. Like it is still happening. restaurants are a great spot for farmers. And when they sell out, they can expand, like, and not just instantly, but there's room to grow for most of the farmers that I know. And I know a lot of them out here in Paulden. I had kind of an aha moment of like a big maybe, nothing like specific like do today, but a co-op situation where farmers and consumers and restaurants are all part of the co-op could possibly bypass the ownership issue if they're all members. I know that's true with like investing capital, like financial capital. If you become a member of a co-op, you're then allowed to buy preferred stock in that company to get returns on, when normally you'd have to be someone with a net worth over $500,000 to get the stock trading, because it's not a publicly traded company. So that might also be a possibility around ownership and legal battles with the county. Ow.
Yeah, and I think just the fact that NASCA could help facilitate these communications between the farmers and the restaurants and the stores, and just and educate the community on these things that are holding back scale for small farmers, and so it's pretty exciting.
So Osteo Strong Sedona, I'm not sure what your name is, but you are so right on the money. The farmers could use help. So I actually have spent 1.5 years writing a procedure and policy application basically for our school garden, just so we can serve the food in the cafeteria. It just, I mean, if you're doing the work and, you know, planning the curriculum and trying to keep everything together, like, oh, that's just one more thing. It just took so long to do. So people that could help with the paperwork and writing the policies and procedures for these farmers would probably help a lot.
I just want to say that, you know, with the new economy that's going to happen, we're thinking about what might happen here in Sedona and how we can not be so dependent upon tourism, where we can have people having jobs who would be able to live here and work at home, and maybe be doing some of this type of organizational stuff from their homes. There can be a diversification of the economy without bringing in industry, because more people have learned that maybe they can fit their skills to a home-based operation and have that kind of cottage industry of being a facilitator for resource sharing and setting up types of networks for people. And I just want to see that kind of diversification happen here without having to feel like we have to bring in some other kind of industry. I also want to mention, you can still write a letter to the Yavapai County supervisors, the Planning and Zoning Board, and tell them that it is not the right place and not the right project to have an urban development at the Spring Creek Ranch site outside of Cornville, where they would potentially bring in about 5,000 people onto a property that has a live riparian, free-flowing spring, a rarity in the desert environment. We still have time to register our objection to this type of zoning change that is a gift to the developer and to nobody else in our communities. It will reduce the flow of the Verde River. It will reduce water in our aquifer to have that many people coming in and living there at Spring Creek Ranch. So keep that in mind. It's not too late to write a letter to them. Go to the Cornville Association on Facebook, and they'll give you some pointers on what to write. But if we can do all these things in our communities for sustainability, and then we have a developer come in who would make an urban island right on a critical stream right near us and tap more water out of the aquifer, a lot of our progress is going to be really negated through that very action. That's the quantity of people, the type of development. Look into it. It's worth looking into.
That's why it's important to note that who you vote for to make the laws and set the policy is important. Mm-hmm.
It's important to speak up when these types of things come up, when there's greed and opportunism, which with some people who can throw their weight around with the old mindset of unlimited resources. A developer who told me personally that climate change is garbage. Let that sink in. Somebody who has so much power, who doesn't believe in science, just not unlike our commander-in-chief. But here's somebody local who could really change an exquisite area and affect all of us here. So we have mega farms up above Flagstaff, and we have things that we have a lot of work to do. Sorry to be so gloomy. Stay positive and energized. That's what we have to do.
Thank you, Peggy. Yeah. We definitely have to look at both sides, the positive side, and acknowledge what's happening. We can't ignore what's going on, and it's right next to us. So it's, you know, we can't always be positive. We have to look at those things. So thank you for sharing that with us, Peggy. And thank you guys all for participating tonight. I know the Zoom meetings are kind of, you know, take a little getting used to. So I really appreciate your time and collaboration, and just for all of you participating. I think, you know, this is a new way to communicate, but I really appreciate you guys all giving it a try with us. And I really had a great time tonight and learning a little bit from all of you. So thank you guys all for being here.
Yeah, and I wanted to give a quick shout out to our Saturday morning youth climate summit. I think it's a webinar that you need to register for, but just go to the website. It'll be under the Prescott events. So Landon will be one of the featured speakers, I think. And so you can see he's very knowledgeable. And he has a young family and his own farm. So he knows what he's talking about. And so we need as many people to turn out for all the events coming up. If you don't know where to find the links to the Zoom meetings or the webinars, just ask Jenna or I, or just visit our website and click on all the city events. They're on the website, nazca.org, nazcca.org. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Good.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.